excited about this week's episode because we get to learn all about an animal that's super cute. It's been over a year since we learned about an animal that many people think is adorable. We got curious about penguins back in June of last year. Let's find out which animal we're getting curious about this week.
Mailbag!
Mailbag! Here is a message we received from Lorelai of Westchester, Ohio. Hello, I'm 7 and my brother Auden is 1. We love listening to Curious Kid podcast and learning new things. My brother's favorite was Curious about sharks. I loved Curious about mermaids and unicorns. My favorite animal is hedgehogs. I already know a lot about them, but I'd like to learn even more. Thank you.
I can't wait to get curious about cute and cuddly hedgehogs for Lorelai and Auden this week.
I don't know if I'd call them cuddly, since I'm not sure if it's a good idea to cuddle with a hedgehog. Unless, of course, that hedgehog is a stuffed animal. We will find out why hedgehogs aren't the best animals to cuddle with in just a moment. But before we do that, what's the question of the week?
Okay, there is a popular character that is a hedgehog. The character was designed for video games so that the Sega Genesis gaming console had a character that could compete with Mario, a super popular Nintendo character. Well, guess what? The hedgehog character has been insanely popular. It first appeared in a video game all the way back in 1991. That is 33 years ago. Since then, it appeared in 93 more video games. That's close to 3 games every year. 2 movies have also featured the hedgehog, and the movies have made more than $700 million. A 3rd movie is scheduled to come out later this year during the holiday season. Do you know the name of the popular blue hedgehog from the video games and the movies?
While you're thinking about the answer, let's start learning all about hedgehogs.
Hedgehogs are mammals that are closely related to shrews and moles. Like all mammals, hedgehogs are capable of making milk for feeding their young, and they have hair or fur. In the case of hedgehogs, they have fur.
Hedgehogs usually resemble porcupines more than they resemble shrews or moles. Even though they kind of look like porcupines are actually rodents that are not closely related to hedgehogs.
The reason hedgehogs look like porcupines is because they have spines, also sometimes called quills, on their back. A hedgehog spine is a hollow hair that is stiffened by keratin, which is the same stuff found in human hair and nails.
Even though hedgehogs have spines like porcupines, an encounter with the spines of a hedgehog is usually far less dangerous. A porcupine's spine easily detaches from its body and can get stuck in the skin of another animal. Taking porcupine spines out could be tricky because porcupine spines are barbed, meaning that there is a little hook at the end that makes them hard to remove. Thankfully, hedgehog spines don't detach as easily as porcupine spines, and they aren't barbed either, so they are pretty easy to remove if they do get into your skin.
Little hedgehogs lose their spines, and those spines are replaced by adult spines. This process is called quilling. Once a hedgehog has his adult spines, those spines are replaced about once a year. An adult hedgehog has anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 spines on its body. A hedgehog is able to raise and lower its spines when it feels threatened.
If a hedgehog is relaxed, it's possible to pet a hedgehog without getting hurt, as long as the hedgehog is being pet in the right direction, and you aren't pushing up against the sharp tips of their spines.
Even though hedgehogs are gentle animals, and some people keep them as pets, there are safety concerns when it comes to hedgehogs. First, they've been linked to an infection called salmonella. You can also get poked by a hedgehog's spines, or a hedgehog could bite. Even though a hedgehog bite usually doesn't cause too much pain, it could spread infection through a bite.
Owning a hedgehog is actually illegal in certain parts of the United States, including California, Georgia, Hawaii, Maine, and parts of New York.
New Jersey isn't on the list, Dad. How about we get a hedgehog?
No thanks. We have a dog, a bird, and a bunch of fish. That's more than enough for me.
Wild hedgehogs eat berries, bugs like beetles, caterpillars, millipedes, and small mammals. When people have pet hedgehogs, they usually feed their hedgehogs dry cat food.
One thing hedgehogs should never get is milk, and that's because, like many humans, they are lactose intolerant. That means that their bodies don't have the enzyme necessary to digest lactose, so milk makes them sick.
Hedgehogs are nocturnal, so they rest during the day and come out at night. Their eyesight is poor, so they rely on their sense of hearing and smell to hunt.
Hedgehogs are able to roll into a ball when they feel threatened by one of their predators, like a badger. They roll into a spiny ball to protect their vulnerable bellies and faces that are covered in fur instead of spines. When rolled into a ball, animals are more likely to just leave a hedgehog alone.
Hedgehogs got their name because it describes the way they hunt. They love to look for their prey in hedges because that's the best place to find yummy insects, worms, and snakes. While they're hunting, they make a snorting sound, kind of like a pig. That's why the name hedgehog totally makes sense.
While hunting, they rely heavily on their long snouts that provide them with a great sense of smell. They also have curved claws that are perfect for digging.
They also have a cute little tail, although the tail is usually pretty hard to see under all of those spines.
Speaking of cute, when an adult hedgehog has babies, those tiny babies are called hoglets.
A litter of baby hedgehogs can have as many as 11 adorable hoglets in it. Most litters have between 3 and 7 hoglets. Those baby hedgehogs will stay with its mommy for only a month or two before venturing out on their own.
A group of hedgehogs is called an array. There is probably no need to remember that because seeing a bunch of hedgehogs together is extremely unlikely. That's because hedgehogs prefer to be alone. The only time adult hedgehogs come together is to mate.
All right, everybody, buckle up, because my brother is about to drop some crazy hedgehog facts that will make you say wow. Here is Noah with 5 unbelievable facts you need to know about hedgehogs. Take it away, Noah.
Fact number 1. Hedgehogs are immune to snake and scorpion venom. In a fight, a hedgehog would likely beat a snake and might even eat the snake afterwards. Fact number 2. Hedgehogs do something strange called self-anointing. When they taste or smell something really strong, they will cover themselves in their foamy saliva. Nobody is really sure why they do this. Fact number 3. Hedgehogs are pretty smart animals. They can recognize their owners, they can be trained to use a litter box like a cat, and they can even be taught how to do some simple tricks. Fact number 4. An average hedgehog has 44 teeth. That's even more than a human. Adult humans have 32 permanent teeth. Fact number 5. Even though hedgehogs have tiny feet, they can travel pretty far. They are known to travel up to 2 miles, or about 3 kilometers, in a single evening while they're looking for food.
Those were definitely unbelievable facts, and the last one about how far hedgehogs can travel reminds me of a super fast hedgehog that I remember from my childhood. This hedgehog was in tons of video games that I loved to play. Olivia, what's the name of the incredibly popular hedgehog character?
Its name is Sonic the Hedgehog. It's blue, which is interesting, since there are 17 species of hedgehog, and none of them are blue. Like a hedgehog, Sonic is able to roll into a ball to protect itself. Unlike a hedgehog, once Sonic rolls into a ball, it is able to roll around at supersonic speed.
When coming up with ideas for the Sega Genesis character that was going to compete with Mario, The game developers considered an armadillo, a porcupine, a dog, and some old guy with a mustache. When people saw the sketches of the different options, they liked the hedgehog the most. Oh, and one other thing. The old guy with the mustache eventually made it into the games, and his name is Dr. Eggman Robotnik.
If you want to learn a lot about hedgehogs, it's probably best not to learn it from Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic's best friend in the game is a fox called Tails. In real life, foxes are one of the hedgehog's predators. In the video game, Sonic has a bunch of friends. Like we learned a few minutes ago, actual hedgehogs are much more comfortable when they are alone. Also, unlike Sonic, actual hedgehogs wouldn't like shiny gold rings. If they collect anything, it may be some leaves and twigs to build a nest, but a ring wouldn't be much use to an actual hedgehog. Even though the game isn't too accurate when it comes to showing what real hedgehogs are like, it's still a ton of fun to play.
It was fun to play in 1991 when I was 10 years old, and it's still fun to play all these years later with my 10-year-old daughter Olivia. Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's podcast, number 262, on hedgehogs.
Great job, Olivia and Noah, and great job, Lorelai and Auden, for the episode topic suggestion that allowed us to learn an array of new facts about a really interesting animal. If you have something that you're curious about that we haven't covered yet, fill out an episode topic suggestion form to let us know so we can get curious for you. You can find a link to the form in the episode notes. It takes about a minute to fill out a form, maybe 2 minutes if your internet connection is acting up. Join us next week when we will get curious about 3D printers for listeners in Texas and New York. As always, thank you so much for listening and getting curious with us.